Hey everybody, KMO here with another Out of My Head video, and I'm going to respond to some feedback that I got from my old friend Core. He wrote, KMO, in regard to the AI intrusion to our lives, what do you think of the USA labeling Huawei, your phone maker, as a tech surveillance threat? Okay, so a little background there. I've been on kind of an audiobook kick. I've been listening to audiobooks on the topic of artificial intelligence, its effects on the economy, the arising of a surveillance state that is entirely corporate. You know, it's outside of the realm, mostly outside of the realm of government, and how the Chinese government is acting as a coordinator of corporate efforts at directing AI research and implementation in China, whereas here in the United States, the U.S. government takes largely a hands-off attitude toward Silicon Valley and just says, make money. And, we have two very different systems, but the Chinese have basically been stealing U.S. tech in a very systematized, organized, protracted way for a very long time. The U.S. government has issued various statements about the threat that China poses through the agency of this company, Huawei. Huawei is the world's second leading manufacturer of these things. It's, behind Samsung, ahead of Apple. And I bought this one last year on Amazon.com. I paid $219 for it. It is a Huawei Mate SE phone. And it is the best smartphone I've ever owned and used. And it cost $200. A comparable device from Samsung or Apple would cost 3 times that. So, as a consumer on a budget, what am I going to do? I'm going to go with the best value for the dollar that I can get in terms of performance, for the money. Right now, that is a Chinese manufacturer of one sort or another. So the tiff, the antipathy between the U.S. government and Huawei in particular goes back quite a few years. In fact, it was kind of a big deal during the 2012 presidential election because Mitt Romney was gone from Bain Capital by the time it happened, but he was recently gone. So basically, his organization, Bain Capital, had brokered a deal between some U.S. companies and Huawei, and basically there was pushback against that from the U.S. government. Huawei pulled out of that deal. They also pulled out of a plan to buy a company called Three Leaf. This is in 2011. So the arguments, the tussle between the State Department and various intelligence agencies and Congress in the United States and the Communist Chinese Party and one of its apparatuses, Huawei, it goes back way back. In terms of internet time, centuries ago, 2011, and before. That was a different era. That was really before the implementation phase of deep learning and the powerful but narrow artificial intelligence systems that it allows to operate now and doing all manner of things in our lives. So Huawei, I think, has been singled out for particular scrutiny by forces in the U.S., but that scrutiny was motivated by things that were taking place before artificial intelligence, particularly deep learning, trained on huge swaths of data collected by these things and lots of other devices that have sensors in them. The bad blood between the U.S. government and Huawei goes back from before this body of concerns really got rolling, outside of a very small circles of people who were thinking about such things. This device, which likely is made certainly in the same Chinese city, if not the same factory, as devices for Apple and Samsung, the other two big players, this device is built to collect data on me. But is the Chinese Communist Party getting that data? Or is Google, the creator of the operating system that runs on this phone, getting that data? Well, all manner of parties are getting data from this device from me. I don't give permissions away willy-nilly, but basically all the things that make this device useful for me also generate data for these big data pools that the deep learning algorithms chew through to learn stuff. So I am feeding that ecosystem with my phone. Am I feeding the Chinese government more than I'm feeding Google? I don't think so. It seems unlikely to me. But another place of tension between the US and China with a particular focus on Huawei is that Huawei makes devices for creating 4G networks and 5G networks. And right now, there is no US manufacturer that creates all the hardware that you need to build a 4G network. So, the only companies that really provide the hardware, there's 2 European companies and a Chinese company. And the Chinese company is Huawei. And the US, US firms are working to roll out this 5G network, but it takes a very long time because there's a lot more transmitters in a 5G network. There's more of them. They're more densely packed together in terms of their geographical distribution. So it's a very slow rollout. And Huawei is a world leader in this technology, but it's been banned. But Huawei products have been banned, so they will not be used in 5G networks in the United States or in Great Britain or Australia, although last I heard, Canada hadn't yet gotten on that train. So there might be, Huawei hardware underlying a 5G network just north of the border. And down here, we'll be reliant on something else, something that we're not using because it meets price performance metrics that most people use to gauge, which product to buy, but because it's not being made by, and supposedly reporting to via backdoors and traps and whatever, to the Chinese Communist Party. So what's the implication there if most of the world is running on a 5G network powered by, Huawei 5G tech, and the US and its allies are running on a different, arguably inferior system? What sort of win is that for us in terms of cybersecurity? Is it a win? I don't see that it is. Huawei, over the last 5 years or so, has poured a huge amount of money into advertising in the US market. So networks, which deliver advertising in exchange for money via the public airwaves, are happy to take Huawei's money. And the US government doesn't seem to have a problem with it. I bought this from Amazon. It's okay for Amazon to make money by delivering Huawei products into the hands of consumers here in the United States, and they do a lot of them because they are a much better value in terms of price and performance than either Samsung or Apple. T-Mobile, my carrier, which connects me via this Huawei device to, the cell phone network and to the World Wide Web when I'm away from my home Wi-Fi connection, they're happy to take my, my monthly subscription fee. So all of these players are making money from Huawei delivering this device and the utility that it provides to me into my hands. How weird would it be to say that the person whose patriotism is compromised here, the person who's not doing their part, to really help the U.S. maintain its lead and its dominance in the tech sector, is me, the end user of this phone? My security, my privacy is no more compromised by this than it would be by a Samsung phone or an Apple phone that costs 3 times as much, if not more. The flagship phones from Samsung and Apple cost over $1,000 now. This was $200. But how weird would it be of all those players making money for really the morally culpable party to be me, the end user, the one who bought the best phone for the money? Finally, I'll just reiterate that the bad blood between the US government and Huawei, the tension, the conflict, the competition between these players predates the current AI moment, but AI feeds into this in a huge way because this is a data collection device. It is a surveillance device. It keeps a watchful eye on what I'm doing, where I'm doing it, who I'm doing it with, what time I'm doing it, in the future, possibly what my blood pressure was when I saw a certain thing, whether my eyes dilated when I saw a particular image, what the phone gathered, what data the phone gathered, and what inferences were made based on, my tone of voice, the position of my eyebrows, how wide my eyes were, how long it took me to think of particular words. All of that, maybe not this device, but the one that follows it or the one that follows that, will be sensitive to all of these things. And there will be a real-time model being made of me, my mood, my intentions, the expectations, my probable coming moves. Some system somewhere, possibly with great redundancy, will be monitoring all of that and building a real-time model of me, basically to sell me stuff and to make sure that I'm not going to be a disruptive element in society. Do I think that one of the agencies or parties that is keeping track of me will be the Chinese Communist Party? Yes, I do. They already have their social credit score or their harmonious existence score or whatever euphemism they want to slap on it. That's already in practice. How difficult would it be for them to just, instead of keeping track of 1 billion people, keep track of 7 billion? I don't think it would be that great a challenge for them. I think to the best of their ability, they will be keeping tabs on certainly all of the citizens of their rival superpower, their rival AI superpower in the world, which the United States still is the AI hegemon. But boy, the Thucydides trap is bearing down on us hard and fast. All right, I've gone further afield than I intended to in this video. I will elaborate on this topic because this is right now my primary area of interest. I will say more about it to you soon, although not necessarily tomorrow, but I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.